We all have choice, like in everything that we do. It's something that people either do consciously or subconsciously. There's no specific way that people can go about their life without making choices about how they present and how they put themselves forward in the world.
I originally come from a town called Stawell, and I always knew that I wanted to grow up to be a practicing artist. That was always the goal and the dream. Because I had already started to play around with gender in clothing and in makeup. A lot of the art that I was making was transgressive in a way, or at least transgressive to small town values. And so 5 years ago, I just packed a small suitcase, came to Melbourne to study and be an artist, and I've been doing that ever since.
I think I tend to dress quite simple, nothing too extravagant. My friends have described my style as grandpa chic, meaning sweaters and not much else. I grew up in a country town, in the bush, as it were, and I knew I was gay when I was like 10. I went to a Christian primary school in which self-expression wasn't really an option, nor was any sexuality other than, normal. I don't try too hard. I like to do my hair. I like to look nice, but I'm more concerned about how I smell. I wouldn't feel like a freak at the shops wearing this. But then again, I hold back on anything too extravagant, so maybe I'm trying not to be a freak at the shops.
I think the number one thing for me is comfort, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I think my sense of style has really evolved around that, like finding clothes that not only make me feel confident and comfortable in myself, but also comfortable to wear and comfortable to, just do life in. I think for a really long time, I knew I was queer and knew that I wasn't a girl or a boy, but I didn't have the language to describe that. So fitting in was always a bit of a query for me. Like, I didn't feel like I fit in, but I didn't feel like there was anything particularly that made me stand out either. Finding the language around being non-binary and having that option as a way to express myself has been really a great way for me to feel like I do fit in society. Fitting in with myself was sort of the core thing that I've learned over the last few years, rather than fitting in with a specific group or a part of society or a community. Just learning to fit in with who I am, rather than what other people might expect me to be.
When it comes to identity, I think the most appropriate word I would use to describe myself is non-binary. I still present in some masculine ways. I have facial hair, I have a naturally deep voice, but at the same time I like to wear dresses and skirts, and I often wear quite feminine makeup if I'm going out somewhere, or sometimes just at home I might do some makeup to feel nice, When my feminine traits and my are more like this, and this is my masculine traits, when the ratio is sort of like that, that's probably where I feel more authentically myself.
I think I used to feel pressured to try harder, but I decided that I'm comfortable with me and I'm happy to continue that way. In a business profession, working mainly with much older people, there's boy clothes and there's girl clothes. The boys wear their suits and their black shoes, and the women get to wear pretty colours and that. I wish I could be a little bit more experimental with colour.
The choice that I make in how I present myself in my clothes is always something that I really do consider. Androgyny is quite important to me, and, you know, feeling androgynous rather than necessarily looking at with my body shape or size or anything like that. It's about the way that I dress, knowing that, you know, it is something that people might not consider feminine, but it doesn't discard my femininity at the same time. There's so many parts of me as well that are masculine, and like I have that masculine energy, and a lot of people think of me with that masculine energy, but I don't want that to be the only part of me, because that's not what being non-binary is to me. Being non-binary is having both sides and being able to balance them and really feel comfortable in just being somewhere in between and not needing to feel like I'm one or the other or changing how I present each day. It's about finding things that make me feel comfortable in that middle ground.
Something that comes up a lot in my head, or used to, is my facial hair. Again, I lean generally more towards the feminine than the masculine. I don't think it discredits my identity as a non-binary person, as someone who is neither a man or a woman, you know. It's just, I just think it looks nice. I think my ideal self is maybe no particular aesthetic or physical appearance. It's more, the ideal is that whatever I am doing or not doing with my face or my body, I just want to be able to feel totally secure and comfortable with it.
You never know who you're going to interact with, and I tend to not do anything that might upset people or cause confrontation. I think Traralgon is definitely more conservative than Melbourne, and a lot more common to have altercations with people based on appearance, and anyone that doesn't fit, you know, the norm, which out there is, you know, dirty old men in farm wear. It's a scary time. You feel like you're moving backwards. It's funny, sometimes I feel less comfortable being openly gay in public now than I would have when I was 16, because it seems to be more widely disapproved.
Every time you go to the bathroom in a public place, if there are male and female toilets, whether you feel like you have to go to one or the other, you're making a choice doing that. It's a real privilege for people to not have to think about that choice and to not have that sense of making a choice that either puts yourself at risk or takes yourself out of your comfort. It's something that we all have to face, whether we know about it or not, whether we think about it or not. It's really hard to make that choice when there's often no in between. I don't feel comfortable putting myself in women's spaces a lot of the time. And so making that choice is something that I consciously think about every day. But for a cis male or a cis female who's never considered it before, it's second nature. So of course you might think that it's strange or weird to have to make that choice or to think that you deserve that choice. But it's a choice that everyone has and everyone makes every day. Critical thinking about gender and identity is something that so many people take for granted to not have to do. And if people can sit down and really think about it and think about what they would feel if they didn't feel comfortable in their body, what they would feel if they didn't feel comfortable with the way people address them every day, and how that would make them feel, how that would make them react to different situations in their life, it would benefit everyone in a sense, because you would have that, at the very least, surface level understanding of how that might impact another person. If people really thought about how tough of a choice that is to make, people would understand that it's not something that anyone would necessarily go out and put themselves through just for the sake of having a label, just for the sake of, you know, having something to say. It's not something that anyone would actively want to choose. But it's still something to be proud of. It's still something to be comfortable with, and something that we should all be comfortable to think about and understand in each other.